My CEO wife thought I was weak and easy to bully, leaving traces of their love everywhere with an intern puppy. The puppy boy was even more shameless, privately sending me endless videos of their bedroom battles. But just when he thought he had me cornered, I went wild at the birthday party and turned into a completely different person. Not only did I publicly play their little videos, but I also pinned the lover down and rubbed it in his face. I didn't spare my wife either, slapping her 18 times right on the spot later. She knelt before me, begging for forgiveness. But to her surprise, I didn't accept her apology. I was going to ruin their lives and make them fall from grace and lose everything. What she never expected was I have two personalities inside me. The weak one is already dead. And now what remains is the love killer, George. Chapter 1. I sat on the rooftop, looking down at the towering skyscrapers below. I said, George, I'm giving you this body. Come out now. Standing on the edge of the rooftop, swaying dangerously, I was sure that George would never let me die. I hadn't taken the medication the doctor prescribed for a long time, all for this day. I waited for a long time, almost ready to give up, when George finally appeared. George was another personality hidden within me. George's lazy voice responded, What's wrong? Willing to let go of your beloved Anna? I stared into the distance, but my voice was firm as I said, Yeah, I've let go. Memories cut through my mind like a knife. That day, I inexplicably opened the surveillance in Anna's break room and saw a scene I never wanted to witness. The wife, who always said she loved me, was in the break room with the new intern, acting out a side of her I had never seen. I closed my eyes, unwilling to face it, but the sounds were clear in my ears. The men said, So, Anna, who excites you more, me or your husband? Anna's forehead beat with sweat, and after a long pause, she finally squeezed out a few words. Of course it's you. My heart skipped a beat, and I didn't want to watch anymore. Glancing at the small segment on my phone screen, I saw that in the past year, there were dozens of instances where they had been sneaking around together. I snapped back to the present and spoke again. 7 days from now, this body will belong to you completely. The doctor prescribed the medication. Once I take it, one of us will inevitably disappear. George, are you listening? 7 days from now, it will be my birthday, and also my death day. As a child, I was calm and reserved. When a classmate slapped me in the bathroom, I didn't dare to tell the teacher, just hid in a corner and cried. My classmates saw me as easy prey, and bullied me for more than a year. One day, when they locked me in the bathroom stall again, George appeared. He kicked open the bathroom door and went home. The next day, George went to school and beat up every student who had bullied me. From then on, no one dared to mess with me. Later, George would appear whenever I was in immense pain. I took one last look at the sky from the rooftop, and a tear slipped from the corner of my eye. This time let George replace me forever. When I got home, I saw the slippers by the door and knew Anna hadn't come back yet. She said she was going on a business trip, and the intern Makoto would be going with her for a week. I had already seen it on Makoto's social media. Those fiery, ambiguous, unspeakable images had deeply shaken me. Standing by the window, I could see the Golden Hall in the distance, where brilliant fireworks were bursting. That was where we had gotten married. The entire sky was lit up by the fireworks, and the last time I had seen them was on our wedding anniversary. At that time, Anna had said, My fireworks only bloom for you, I sneered. Her fireworks no longer bloomed just for me, because just now, Anna's fireworks order confirmation had been sent to my phone. I smiled and signed it directly. I went to the guest room and lay down. Ever since I learned of Anna's betrayal, my mind was filled with memories of Anna and me from our youth. We met in college, and she was the one who confessed to me. Even the proposal was initiated by her. She said, Marry me, David, I can't wait anymore. Later, she became very determined. While I was still working step by step, she and her best friend founded Sue Group. She linked her arm with mine and said, If others have it, David must have it too. Everything was for me. But after we had everything, Anna became restless. When Anna returned, I was already lying in bed. The sound of footsteps came from outside the door, and I quickly closed my eyes. The door creaked open, and Anna gently climbed into bed. Looking at my shallow breathing, she whispered, Why are you in the guest room again? Do you want me to sleep here with you? I didn't open my eyes and simply said faintly, I sleep poorly. I just want some peace. Anna gently kissed my face and said I won't disturb you. Good night, David. That familiar scent of smoke. I had smelled it before in the hidden cubicle of the office. The next morning, Anna woke me up. I immediately felt dizzy, nauseous, and the world spun. Just before I passed out, I collapsed onto the bedroom floor. David, you're so hot. Don't scare me. In a daze, Anna anxiously dressed me and with the help of the maid, supported me into the car, speeding to the hospital. She said, it's okay, David. We'll be at the hospital soon. The car reached the hospital's emergency entrance. Before the door was even fully closed, Anna helped me rush into the emergency room. Doctor. Nurse. My husband has a high fever. Someone come quickly. A nurse recognized her and said, isn't this Sue's Miss Sue? Come put Mr. Wong here. The doctor gave me a thorough checkup. It turned out to be a fever caused by a bacterial infection. Yet, Anna was so anxious, still wearing slippers. I weakly looked at the exhausted face of the female CEO. If I didn't know about her affair with her secretary, I might still be immersed in the illusion of the happy marriage Anna had woven for me. My phone rang. It was a message from Makoto, he said. David, faking illness isn't fun. Do you believe that if I wanted to, I could take her from you anytime? I glanced at Anna, who seemed very tired, her hand pressed against her temple, looking exhausted. If it were before, I would have had 1,000% confidence that Anna would stay with me. Because before, she had come to the hospital in grand fashion, when something serious happened at the company. She had stayed with me until my 4 was finished, then hurried to leave after making sure I was back home. That time the company lost millions. But now I'm not sure. Chapter 2. Her phone was turned face down, vibrating slightly. I couldn't see anything on Anna's phone screen, because the protective film had somehow turned into a privacy filter. Anna looked troubled as she said, David, something urgent came up at the company. I looked away. I said, go ahead, I'll be fine. Anna sighed in relief and planted a deep kiss on my forehead. She said, I'll take care of things and come back to keep you company as soon as I can. I watched Anna's back as she left and faintly said there's no need. The nurse next to me was gossiping and secretly snacking. Someone said, look at Miss Sue. She's beautiful, powerful, and rich. Another replied, yeah. And she's so protective of her husband. Just now, she even told them to be gentle with his needle. Turns out, the strong love of a female CEO is quite the thing. If I were a guy, I'd be all over her. Yes, such a perfect wife. Who wouldn't like her? Too bad, her acting is too good. She's fooled everyone with her pretended passion, but she still couldn't control her restless heart. But I'm tired. I don't want to play this game with her anymore. My nose felt stuffy, and my heart ached. Fine, it is what it is. The 4 finished, but Anna still hadn't shown up. When the nurse removed the needle, a long streak of blood followed. The bright red blood stained the entire bandage. The nurse quickly apologized, and even the head nurse came over. She said, sorry, Mr. Wong. She's new and still not very experienced. I shook my head. The pain didn't even matter, and I said it's fine. After saying that, I got up and walked out. The phrase sounded familiar. The head nurse cautioned, Mr. Wong, please press on the spot. I ignored her, letting the blood flow down my hand. The day after Makoto became the CEO's assistant, he spilled tea on my new suit pants. Makoto frantically wiped at the stain, looking as though I was humiliating him rather than the other way around. Before I could say anything, Anna spoke first. She said, David, he's new, a bit clumsy. Don't be too hard on him, Makoto said. Mr. Wong, you're not mad at me, right? How much were those pants? I'll pay for them. Anna naturally stood in front of Makoto, defending him. She said, all right, you can leave now. I politely shook my head. Back then, Makoto didn't dare to be so openly provocative. But Anna gave him the confidence to challenge me. It seemed like from that day on, Anna's balance had shifted in Makoto's favor. I should have noticed earlier. I thought to myself, if it were George, what would he do? He'd probably punch him back, and not only that, he'd have Anna fire him. Sometimes I really envy George. He could live freely without hesitation. But well, that day is not far off. When I got home, I took all our photos and burned them in the yard. The thick smoke caught the attention of the maid. She asked, "Mr. Wang, what are you burning? Do you need help?" I smiled faintly, but the smile quickly turned into tears. I turned away, a tear shining as it fell. Seeing that I didn't respond, the maid left disappointed. Looking at the thick smoke, I realized that our past, just like those photos, would soon disappear into the air. In this world, there would be no trace of me or anything related to me, as if I had never existed at all. The suffocating feeling inside seemed to ease a little. By evening, when Anna returned, she brought a small box with her. She walked up behind me and hugged me tightly. Her cheek rested against my chest as she said, "Okay, you're not burning up anymore. David, yesterday really scared me. I called out to you many times, but you didn't respond. You know, I can't live without you." As she spoke, she tightened her embrace even more. "Can't live without me," I thought to myself. I looked down and saw a faint red mark on her neck. A wave of nausea hit me, and I pushed her arm away. But she coquettishly wrapped her arms around my neck again. Anna thought that it must have been because I was upset about not having her with me in the hospital while I was getting the 4. Her David had always had this kind of temper, she said. They say nothing can't be solved by playing a game together. How about you see if you like this new gaming console? I looked at the object in front of me, unsure whether it was a refurbished or counterfeit console, and sighed. Did she really know nothing about games? Noticing my displeasure, she reached up and touched my forehead. She asked, still feeling unwell, "Should I make you some porridge? Yesterday was my fault. I left you alone in the hospital. If you don't like this, what do you want? No matter how expensive or hard to get, I'll buy it for you." "I like it," I replied indifferently, but my face was anything but pleased. Upon hearing my response, Anna's worried heart finally relaxed, and she hugged me tightly. She said my David is the best. Anna went to the bathroom for a shower and noticed the delicate pill bottle on my desk. There was only one pill inside, and she instinctively picked it up and examined it closely. She asked David, "Is there anywhere you've been feeling unwell lately?" Chapter 3. I turned around and saw the pill in her hand. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly walked over to her, snatching the bottle from her hand and holding it tightly. I smiled at her and said, "It's nothing. It's just a sleep aid the doctor prescribed. It's quite expensive." Anna wrapped her arm around mine. She knew I often suffered from insomnia. She asked, "How expensive? If it's useful for your condition, I'll buy a whole box and keep it at home. That way you can have it whenever you need it." I laughed and said, "Who keeps that much medicine on hand? All right, you go take a shower." While Anna went to the shower, I carefully hid the pill bottle. Later that night, when I opened my social media feed, I saw an update from Makoto. It read, "Someone's love overflowing." The photo showed a pile of brand name watches, sunglasses, and shoes scattered on the floor. One comment said, "Wow, so many limited edition items." Makoto's pride seemed to almost burst through the screen as he replied, "Of course. The person who loves you will understand everything you need." Yes, the things I held in my hand. She really didn't understand them. The window in the picture reflected a familiar figure. I couldn't mistake that figure no matter what. Poor Anna running between the two of us. She should really be called a time management master. I shut off my phone, and a sharp pain shot through my chest. It hurt so badly I collapsed to my knees. When the heart aches, you really feel it. But thankfully everything will soon be over. The next day was the anniversary gala of Sue's corporation. Every year Anna would take me to attend, and this year was number different. She had prepared a stylish white custom-made suit for me. The fit made me stand taller, matching my current identity perfectly. I dressed up as usual, but I couldn't manage even the slightest smile on my face. Anna took my arm as we entered the grand hall of the venue. Reporters in the PR team began snapping photos. A stable marriage was Anna's best endorsement. The opening dance was always ours. For this dance, I had practiced with a teacher for a long time, because I didn't want Anna to feel embarrassed. But unlike Makoto, who came from a family of dancers before we could even finish, Makoto entered the dance floor with a female partner. His eyes full of pride, the soft music suddenly shifted to an energetic Latin tune. Makoto, in a black Latin dance outfit, led his partner, dressed in a red dress, onto the floor. His partner's sensual movements didn't take away any of his spotlight. Her hips swayed provocatively, causing people to feel their pulse race as they watched. In almost no time, he had stolen everyone's attention. Someone asked, "Who's this?" "The CEO and her husband haven't even finished their opening dance. And this guy's already here. Doesn't he fear for his job?" Another replied, "Oh, this is Miss Sue's special male best friend. Otherwise, you think who else would be this bold?" Someone else commented, "No wonder he's here to provoke them." Whispers from the guests reached my ears. Anna thought she was hiding it well, but the whole company could see her embarrassing situation. Meanwhile, the flirtatious interaction between Makoto and his dance partner deeply provoked Anna. I couldn't help but glance at Anna. Her gaze was fixed on the hand that the female partner had placed on Makoto's waist several times. Their faces almost touched, and the air between them was thick with tension. Her fingers holding the wine glass turned slightly pale. I knew she was jealous of another man. When the dance ended, Makoto politely thanked everyone. Anna put down her wine glass, turned to me and said, "David, I need to mingle for a bit. Take care of yourself." I nodded, watching her hurry away. She walked straight to Makoto's side and gave him a glance. Makoto ignored her. Seeing him ignore her like that only fueled Anna's anger. She looked around, grabbed Makoto's arm and stormed off. I decided to take a breath on the balcony to escape the suffocating atmosphere inside. But as I passed the lounge, I heard a familiar voice. It was Anna and Makoto. Chapter 4. Inside the sounds of a man and woman mixed together. Rising and falling, Anna said, "You're making such a big fuss. Aren't you just trying to make me jealous? I told you. Don't you ever show up in front of me." Makoto's voice was filled with a breathless intensity, making one's heart race. He said, "Miss Sue, isn't it because I miss you so much? Does this trick still work on you? I want you to know what it feels like when you're in that person's arms. It will hurt 1,000 times more than you can imagine," Anna said. "Next time, don't do this." I bit my lip, clenched my fists, but my face burned, tears streaming down uncontrollably. My first instinct was to run away. I quickly walked to the balcony, breathing in the fresh air, trying to escape the suffocating feeling from what I had just witnessed. A loud bang echoed. At p.m., fireworks erupted on time. Guests crowded around, taking photos of me and applauding. Everyone probably thought the tears on my face were from being moved. I was the husband of the admired female CEO. These fireworks in the sky were for me alone. But Anna was nowhere to be seen. Only I knew that she was in another man's arms, doing something no one could ever see. As the guests whispered, speculating about where Anna had gone, the music suddenly changed. All eyes moved to the dance floor. The spotlight shone on Anna. How difficult for her to have just cheated, and now had to play the devoted partner. The spotlight followed her, coming towards me. She lifted the hem of her dress and pulled my hand, placing a watch worth millions onto my wrist. She said, "David, thank you for being with me. We'll be together forever until we grow old." But I clearly saw that a scarf was now wrapped around her neck, covering the marks of passion she had left behind. Nearby, a woman exclaimed, "Isn't that the one I saw at the auction the other day? There's only one in the world, and Miss Sue managed to get it." Miss Sue doesn't buy jewelry for herself, but she bought a watch for Mr. Wong. Guess that's the benefit of having a female CEO wife. What a lucky guy. Yes, truly lucky. As the banquet neared its end, I felt exhausted. I returned to the dressing room, only to find that Makoto had been waiting there for me. The door to the dressing room was wide open. When he saw me, Makoto smiled, crossing his arms over his chest. His Latin dance outfit had been torn apart, and his neck was covered in red marks. All evidence of how intense their encounter had been, he said. "I didn't expect you to be so patient, Mr. Wong. If it were anyone else, wouldn't they have already taken care of me for being with their wife?" Makoto mocked me, flaunting his triumph. He casually brushed his hand over his neck. On his wrist was a watch identical to the one I was wearing, gleaming with a sharp, blinding light. He whispered into my ear, "You're just a kept man. I thought Mr. Wong was charming and difficult to deal with, but now it seems you're just a useless fool," Anna said. "If it weren't for the fact that you're an orphan, she would have divorced you long ago, and yet you still cling to her. I held it all in, my clenched fists trembling with veins bulging. But the next moment, I lost control of my body. Everyone watched as I raised my fist and punched Makoto square in the nose. Chapter 5. I cried out inwardly. George. George's strike was too heavy. And Makoto was sent reeling, crashing into the nearby coffee table. The glass on the table shattered all over the floor. And just then, the door was pushed open, and a crowd of people poured in. I turned around and saw Anna standing at the door with a large group of guests and reporters, all having witnessed the scene. Anna shouted, "Makoto!" People around started murmuring. Mr. Wong usually looks so gentle, but when it comes to fighting, he really doesn't hold back. Look, the assistant's face is practically smashed. Anna rushed to Makoto's side, crouching down carefully to check his injuries. Makoto said, "Anna, help me. I think my nose is broken." Makoto's expression was full of pain, and Anna looked up at me. She asked David Wong, "What do you think you're doing?" She had never called me by my full name before. Anna motioned for someone to help Makoto up, and as they passed by me, she whispered to him, "David, I barely recognize you anymore." She paused for a moment, then adjusted herself and continued, "I'll go handle this, and I'll have the driver take you home later." She was blaming me. She thought it was my fault. Was I not allowed to even teach a lesson to someone who was destroying my marriage? As the crowd gradually dispersed, I was left alone in the empty room, staring at the shattered glass on the floor. I heard George's voice in my mind. He said, "David, I'm sorry. I just couldn't hold back." I looked out the window, wanting to cry, but finding that I could no longer shed tears. I shook my head and said, "It's not your fault. George, you did what I've always wanted to do. But I still care about her." Actually, Makoto was right. I am a coward. The driver stood at the door cautiously asking, "Mr. Wong, Miss Sue asked me to take you home." I shook my head and said, "You can go back. I need some time alone." The driver nodded slightly and left. My phone screen lit up again, and it was another message from Makoto. "Room 203 at Sacred Heart Hospital. Do you want to see the real her?" I turned off my phone. I stood there staring out at the stars. George couldn't help but speak up again. "David, don't tell me you're still going," I replied. "Why not go?" I glanced at my phone, then called a taxi before I left. I had to find out how much more of this deception and disguise there really was. The city at night had lost its grandeur, and it was already late, with few people on the streets. Suddenly a lightning bolt struck and I shuddered. It was late autumn, and the weather had turned cold. Soon the taxi stopped in front of Sacred Heart Hospital. Following the information left by Makoto, I walked to the hospital room, peering through the slightly ajar door. I saw Anna's mother and sister sitting on either side of Makoto's hospital bed, holding his hand with concern. Mrs. Sue said, "Makoto, you need to be careful in the future. Next time stay away from David. This time he hit you. Who knows what he'll do next?" Anna's sister said, "Yeah, brother-in-law. I don't know if David did this on purpose. He has a condition, and he won't let you give my sister a child." Anna pushed her sister lightly and said, "Who are you calling brother-in-law? Your only brother-in-law is David." Her sister stood up, arguing back. "I don't care. I can't just watch him ruin you. You've been married to him for so long, and haven't had a single child. It must be his problem. Don't you know how much Mom loves seeing other people's children? He's taking away a woman's right to be a mother. It's too much." Her sister was 5 years younger than Anna. When Anna and I first started dating, she would always tag along with us, and she would sweetly call me brother-in-law because of George. I always wished for a sibling, and I treated her like my little sister, always making sure she had the best food and drinks. I never imagined that a man like Makoto would make her willingly call him brother-in-law. I had thought that at least my mother-in-law and sister-in-law would be on my side. I did have health problems, but I wasn't infertile. Anna often went out for social events and drinking, and her body had already taken a toll. I was the one who went to get the test results, and it was Anna who couldn't conceive to spare her from pain. I lied and told her that I was infertile. For all these years, the family had been pressuring us to have children at first. Anna would say that she was afraid of the pain of childbirth, but later she stopped saying anything, and I was the one who had to deal with it. Now I was caught in the middle, unable to escape. Mrs. Sue's voice interrupted my thoughts. She said, Makoto, here's this family heirloom jade pendant for you. When Anna gets pregnant, you won't need to worry about the house or car. This child will be the only heir of the Sue family. My vision blurred as I watched her place the pendant into Makoto's hand. I remembered that pendant during our wedding. My mother-in-law had held my hand and said, from now on, you're my son. When you have children, this pendant will be yours. It seemed I had already been discarded by them. Anna lowered her head behind them and didn't dare to speak. She was thinking that once she had a child with Makoto, she could just pay him off with some money and send him away. She'd say the child was David's, and that would resolve the conflict between David and her family. For all these years, the family had been pushing her to have children, but she couldn't bear to let David go through surgery. So this was her solution. But what she didn't know was that the cost of this would be losing him forever. I didn't want to hear anymore, so I turned and walked away. Disappearing into the empty hallway of the hospital, Anna said, no matter what you all say, my husband will always be David. After speaking, Anna grabbed the bag beside the bed, preparing to go home. She felt uneasy. She had just left David alone at the hotel and hadn't properly explained herself to him. She had to come up with a plan. Mrs. Sue and Anna's sister exchanged glances before turning back to Makoto and saying, don't listen to her. Once Anna is pregnant with your child, you two will be a real family. Yeah, we all see you as family now. Makoto smiled, his heart already bursting with happiness. He knew that a child could capture a woman's heart completely. Once the child was born, the mother would devote all her energy to the child. And at that point he, as the biological father, would naturally enter the Sue family with a little more effort. He could get rid of David, and the Sue group would be his for the taking. Chapter 6. I stumbled down the street, my mind foggy as the rain poured down, soaking me from head to toe. My clothes were already drenched, and I walked through the rain trying to process everything I had just witnessed. But in my memories, my mother-in-law's family had always liked him. When we got married, knowing I was an orphan, my mother-in-law said, good boy. From now on, treat the Sue family as your own. We will always be your family. I tried my best to be a good son-in-law and fulfill my duties as a brother-in-law. But now it seemed that Makoto had long replaced me, and they had known about his existence all along. Once I lost my value, I was no longer important to them, including to Anna. A red Ferrari sped by, splashing me with water. In the blur, I saw the familiar license plate 520ZH. I couldn't hold it in anymore and broke down, crying in the rain. The rainwater flowed down my cheeks as I asked George why? What did I do wrong? Why is everyone treating me like this? George was there, but didn't speak. He didn't know how to comfort me, but the sharp, gut-wrenching pain was something he could feel too. Anna's car turned around and stopped beside me. She hurriedly got out and tried to hold an umbrella over me, seeing me sobbing in the rain. Her heart shattered. Anna helped me up and asked, David, what's wrong? Why are you sitting here in the rain? You're already not in the best health. If you get sick, what am I supposed to do? The heavy rain washed over my face, and I struggled to open my eyes, looking at this woman in front of me. But how could she speak of love for him when she had already betrayed me? I didn't say a word. Then she pulled me into her embrace. She said, I know. I was too harsh earlier, wasn't I? I'm sorry, will you forgive me? Forgive her? It was impossible now. When we got home, Anna helped me into the bathroom, set aside my pajamas, and turned the temperature up. Preparing the bathwater, I sat numbly on the toilet, and Anna knelt down carefully, brushing away my wet hair. She asked, hubby, is it because I sent the employee to the hospital that upset you? I can explain. There were so many reporters and guests around. It was the best crisis management we could do. Otherwise, if you post the video of slapping the employee online tomorrow, it won't just cause trouble for the company, but for you too. The company doesn't matter. I'm worried you'll get harassed online. Anna smiled seductively and said, David, how about I help you with your bath? That snapped me out of my daze, and I shook my head, rejecting her offer. Anna thought I was just being contrary, and she said, all right, I won't tease you anymore. Then you take a nice warm bath. I'll wait for you in bed. I closed the bathroom door and looked at myself in the mirror. I said, George, I'm really tired. George still didn't speak, but the reflection in the mirror smiled, though it was a little awkward. I knew that George, who was not good with words, was trying his best to comfort me. After cleaning up, I lay down on the bed. Anna affectionately curled up in my arms, her hands wandering around the back of my neck. I thought about the scenes in the lounge, and felt a cold shiver run through me, a feeling of utter disgust creeping up in my chest and stomach. I pushed on away and said, I'm tired. Anna stopped what she was doing and kissed my shoulder gently, saying, okay, I won't bother you anymore. She clung to my hand, her grip tightening, a feeling of unease growing inside her. She felt that I was drifting further and further away from her. Tomorrow was David's birthday. There was still time to make things right. But what she didn't know was that tomorrow was also the day I decided to leave. Chapter 7. Every year, my birthday banquet is held at a different venue in the city, and this year was no exception. Anna rented the largest garden venue, making this birthday celebration even grander and more extravagant than most weddings. Anna had gone early to supervise the venue setup, ensuring that nothing went wrong for the event. Before leaving, Anna hugged me and said, Good husband, I've prepared the suit for you. It's in the cloakroom. The driver will come to pick you up. I can't wait to see how you look in it. I watched her leave, and the door was shut behind her with a heavy thud. I walked into the cloakroom and picked up the suit Anna had chosen for me. It was a haute couture suit from a famous designer. She had taken care of everything for me like I was some kind of high-end collectible doll, never asking for my opinion. Back in the bedroom, I took out the red pill that Dr. Lou had given me. He had said, as long as you swallow this pill, only one of you, either you or George, will survive. The doctor's words echoed in my mind as I held the pill in my hand. Sitting at the table, George appeared just in time. He said, David, are you sure about this? If you take it, you'll never see Anna again. I smiled and said, George, if only you had been the one born in my mother's womb. Then I wouldn't have had to come to this world, wouldn't have met Anna, and wouldn't have gotten lost in love, George said. But none of this is your fault. It's their problem. I was resolute. I looked at the reflection of George in the mirror and said, if only you could let me touch you. George's expression was serious, but tears welled up in his eyes. He too felt the pain for me, his younger brother. He stroked his face and said, think carefully, David. If I take over your body, I won't let go of Anna so easily. You really won't give her another chance. I bitterly smiled. I had given Anna too many chances. Before I could open my mouth to refuse, Makoto's message popped up on my phone. It read, David, as a birthday favor, let Anna spend 2 hours with you tonight. The rest of the time she's mine, I said. See, George, what's left for me to hold on to? I put my phone away and without hesitation, opened the bottle and swallowed the pill. I felt myself growing more and more drowsy, my body growing limp as I collapsed onto the bed. Sinking into a deep sleep, a single tear slid down the corner of my eye. Finally I whispered, Anna, I'll never see you again. While Anna was preparing for the surprise she had planned for my birthday at the venue, she was upstairs tangled with Makoto, she said. David's starting to suspect things. You better lay low. If he finds out about you, you know what? I've warned you about the consequences. Makoto's hand roamed over Anna, he said. If he were going to find out, he would have done so already. Anna, you still need to spend time with him tonight. I don't need much, just a little while until the event starts. Makoto continued his advances, knowing that Anna couldn't resist when he behaved like this. After their chaotic moment, Anna went to the shower and Makoto unlocked her phone, deleting the message she had sent to David. Anna asked, I heard a phone ring just now. Whose was it? Makoto replied, just a spam call. Anna smiled and said, here's a card for you. Go buy your favorite watch or luxury car. In Anna's eyes, Makoto was easy to appease. Money would solve everything. What she didn't know was that Makoto's appetite had already grown much larger, and this little reward no longer appealed to him. The evening banquet proceeded as planned, with all the guests arriving and preparations being made in an orderly fashion. Everyone was eagerly awaiting the surprise Anna had prepared for the night, since every year she presented her husband with a jaw-dropping gift. Last year, she had given him an entire wine estate. As the clock struck 8, David was still nowhere to be seen at the entrance. Guests whispered amongst themselves, speculating whether it was part of the couple's game. Anna instructed her assistant to check if something had gone wrong. Just then, the roar of a motorcycle engine was heard at the entrance. George